Hello and welcome to the comic panel. I'm Shawinta.
I'm Talon.
I'm Cody.
And I'm Jacob.
And this week we're going to be discussing Monster by Naoki Urasawa.
And
Shawinta, I accuse her first of making us read more robot fiction. Without...
Wait.
It's not robot.
Did I read the wrong... Yeah, there's no robots in this.
There isn't? Is this not another robot detective? He said that he's typing and he's storing it in a floppy disk.
No, he's just weird, like, East German Sherlock Holmes, kinda.
Yeah, I mean...
But he's not a robot.
Something alright.
Not a robot.
No, this is,
Okay.
takes place in Germany.
Also, we're talking about a doctor.
1986.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is...
Investigator.
And there's, like, just historical connotations that they bring into play about this, like, realistic historical drama.
Mm-hmm. Before we get too much into the book, I do want to say that it was about a month ago now, we reviewed Spawn by Todd McFarlane.
Yeah, it was...
I think it was about a month
I feel like
ago.
that was... It feels like more, but I'll believe it was a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
it was.
So I watched a Sci-Fi Wire documentary of Todd McFarlane and his life, and so I have a newfound respect for Spawn now after watching that, because the long story short, it was a story of this guy who's like, you guys have a certain way of doing things, I have a different way of doing things. And them trying to be like, no, let's stick to where it's safe. And he's like, no, but the fans want something better. And so that is what prompted him to leave Marvel and then take a couple of fellow colleagues with him to Image. And so...
I don't know.
I don't know if it was like... I don't know how long ago this documentary was, but Spawn reached issue 300, which apparently tied for the longest running creator-owned series ever. And I'm like, wow, that's good. That is very impressive. And kudos to you. And basically he was just like, you know, I had to have a confidence in what I was doing, in the product that I was putting out there, to weather the storms that came my way. Because he made some mistakes, like basing a character off of a hockey player, and that hockey player did not like that. And then he had he did some mistakes with what was that? Some guy sued him for 3 of the Spawn characters. I can't remember his name. You know?
Oh, Neil Gaiman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and so anyway, it was just him being like, he kind of left us with like, so there were 2 things. He was like, I would rather be the person who started this thing and kept it going, and if it failed, then it would be by my own merits and not somebody else. But if it also succeeded, it would be my merits. And I was like, that to me is a train of thought that I respect very much, because I would much rather be responsible for the successes and failures, because to me it's like, when you blame somebody else, or when you have these excuses for the reasons that you're not succeeding, whether or not they're valid, it is taking the power outside of your hands to change your situation, or to change where you're at. So to him be like, hey, if it succeeded, if it failed, it's my fault, right? So I was like, I appreciate that, that kind of thought. And then he was like, all right, so, I've reached some level of success, and it is therefore kind of my responsibility to tell the next generation to be like, hey, this is possible, right? To inspire you, because he was also inspired by a previous comic book creator to get into comics as well. So I was like, man, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay, I feel like it is possible that maybe we were a little hard on Todd McFarlane in our Spawn episode, and it's not because I don't like Todd McFarlane. Like, I have a lot of respect for him because, like you said, he is a successful person. He's obviously a good artist, and it takes a lot to start your own company, regardless of whatever field you're in. But it's just those first couple issues of Spawn just aren't good. Like, I don't have anything against him as a person. They're just not the greatest when it comes to comics as the medium. And it's like it still speaks that, like, of all of like the comics that started then, because like the 90s were like not a great time for comics. It does speak a lot that Spawn is the one that made it. Like, they're the Google to like make a connection to like the .com boom. It's like they're the one that survived. They're the one that's still around. And we're not knocking. I don't think we're knocking that or Todd McFarlane as a person. It's just a matter of some comics just aren't good, or not even.
I mean,
if they're not good, you just don't like them.
Sorry, I will say that I do find Todd McFarlane kind of annoying as a person. Like, basically, there's like Rob Liefeld and then like Todd McFarlane, and then, but yeah, because like, I recently finished listening to the audiobook for Marvel Comics: The Untold Story, and yeah, there was an interview where in the Comics Journal, I think I tried to find the exact quote, but I couldn't quickly. But basically, they asked him like what his favorite book was or something, and then he was like, I don't actually read much except for the sports page, and like basically I can just like I can just draw whatever, in the background, and if it makes enough sense, the kids will buy it. And it was just like, ooh,
wait, Todd
man.
McFarlane said that?
Yeah. It was just like, I don't know. He's definitely kind of like, for as much as he's all like artistic integrity and like, sticking up for the little guy against the big companies, it really feels sometimes like he's a businessman more than anything.
Well, yeah. That was something that he was talking about in the Sci-Fi Wire documentary, was that for his vision for Spawn was he wanted to set up 4 pillars. That was comics, movies, TV shows, and toys. And so he
Got
did
2
that.
of those.
No, he did all those. He had
okay, but like, yeah, like, okay, there was a Spawn movie, but like nobody remembers it fondly, and I think the same can be said for the TV show. But like, he's still out there making comics and making toys.
Well, the TV show, I think people remember that fondly.
Hard to say. I'm not a big Spawn head, so, but I do know that like Todd McFarlane and Image are still putting out at least 2 of those. So,
yeah. That was just something I wanted to say, was that I have newfound respect for Spawn.
I mean, it did its job as a documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also the case. Is like the documentary was probably supposed to make you feel that way. If you talk to like anybody else about Todd McFarlane, they might have a different opinion.
Yeah. Also, I take back my accusation. It was totally not serious anyway.
Yeah, I mean, he is weird, that detective, but I didn't get like big robot vibes.
Mhm.
I mean, it's
I
just a
just-
quirk to show that he's so perceptive
Oh.
because he has his weird ways.
Okay, I know what you mean, Cody. Okay, now I got you. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because I was
And,
I
like,
was thinking
just,
of the
like-
the local cop character, and not
Nah,
the
no,
guy
no, no,
from the other.
The BKA.
Yeah.
hmm
Yep.
Yeah,
Just
Just
because
a
especially
weird
because
Soviet RoboCop.
I just thought because more than just saying that he was typing in the floppy disk, because the normal cop guy, like the local police officer, asked him, "Do you think he has anybody suspected you yet?" And so I was like, "Oh, so he's like serious? That's what that means." So this has robots too. I was like, "Oh, just kidding."
Okay,
This man from a secretive agency is obviously also a robot.
the guy's name is Inspector
Yeah.
Weisbach. He's the detective that is like the local cop.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, then there's the Inspector Lund.
Yeah. Lunge. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's Lund.
Okay.
Mhm.
Anyway, though, that's the middle of the story.
Yeah, so I mean, the beginning starts off in Germany, 1886.
19, I think.
Jesus. 1986. Germany, 1986. I'm gonna totally mix up saying which one it is. It's the one side of the wall before the wall's fallen.
It's
East.
West.
No,
West.
West.
West
West.
Germany.
No, West was the West Germany was the free part. It was under
Okay, okay.
Allied control, and then East Germany
So-
was under Soviet control.
The
And
reason
then-
I was going to say East is because those two characters had just moved from East Germany to this area.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
they kept saying East Germany, East Germany.
and then
Um,
there's also a thing for like Berlin is also split up, but this isn't in Berlin, so we're not going to worry about that too
Yeah.
much.
So we get to see the main character, Dr. Tenma. Forgetting his first name with them.
Kenzu Tenma.
Yeah, Kenzu Tenma. He's Japanese. He's moved here to Germany. We find out to further his research and whatever. And it comes out that he's a really great surgeon. Like he has, impeccable skills at staying calm and surgery.
Yeah, there's a lot of medical terminology that they just kind of throw out with very little explanation, including
I
stuff
even
that they
looked some
don't
of
need
those
to
up.
technobabble. Like they call for a Roentgram, which is just an X-ray. Like you can just say X-ray. That's quicker.
Yep. And the subarachnoid hemorrhage. Subarachnoid hemorrhage.
Arachnoid.
Yeah, it's
I
like
think it's called.
I felt
I mean,
like I
it
was
looks
There's a
like
watching.
spider in his bloodstream.
Yeah, it was. There's shit like it feels like I'm watching like a bad medical drama where they just like throw out names of stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I know what that is.
Oh.
The thing is, the guy who wrote this did study that stuff, so it's
Oh, gotcha.
it's not totally wrong.
Mhm.
No, I'm not saying he studied it as actually, but he's known for actually
Oh.
looking into this stuff
Oh,
and not
gotcha.
just making it up. But
Mhm.
I don't think that means that he got a degree in it, so he's having to make up stuff that they would be interested in research wise back then, like the hemorrhaging and
Mhm.
stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, so the whole thing with Dr. Tenma is he's really good at this job. He wants to rise in position in the hospital, obviously, so he can continue his research, clinical research. He's currently dating Eva, the daughter of, I want to say the director of the hospital.
Director Heinemann.
So he
The,
is.
the hierarchy is also kind of weird. Like I didn't get a good sense of who was in charge, and then in one of the later chapters they introduced this board of directors who has been barely mentioned up until this point.
Yeah, they didn't even show up until then. They're just, I mean,
Mhm.
that's kind of how it is, isn't it? They only convene when it's convenient.
I guess, but like I guess that
I get to play on words.
I
convenient,
didn't
like,
mean to.
convenient. Okay. I get like it's like a little criticism. It's just like I feel like for people who are unfamiliar with like the hierarchy of like a hospital,
Mm-hmm.
they could have explained that a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Because just like, oh, this guy's the head of surgery, this guy's the head of administrator, except
Yeah.
then there's also these directors. And it's like,
You-
okay, but
I think
how's
you kind
that?
of. I'm saying you, but I mean like in general. I think the audience because of that kind of misses the stakes at play here, where it's like I don't totally understand which position Dr. Tenma is vying for, and what the implications of that even are. Like, what kind of power does that come with? But we're just kind of placated by like, oh, he wants to obviously get a promotion. He wants to keep his good position because they rely on him as the best doctor. So what it comes out in the beginning is that he successfully operates on this opera singer who had a stroke. I'm not remembering at the moment.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
suspicious
I think it was a
amount
stroke.
of like I guess it is a neurosurgeon, so you're gonna see a lot of it, but like it seems like there's a suspicious amount of like brain injuries in a very short amount of time.
Well, that was the position that he won. That's like his kind of position, right?
Well, it's just like
Brain
people are just like
neurosurgeon?
collapsing and they're
I
having.
mean, it's a big hospital, man. It's a city too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just yeah, like I understand. It's like the opposite of like when you have a hammer, everything looks like nails. When you are a neurosurgeon, you're gonna see all the neurosurgeon stuff, but like, how are they all happening all at once? Where like you have to choose.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
So he operates on this famous opera singer, and it gets great coverage for the hospital and whatever. But what it comes out is he originally was going into the operating room to operate on a Turkish laborer that had been brought in with a head injury or something. I can't remember what. And he was pulled away from that operation quickly because they said, oh, so-and-so has come in. We need you right now. And the person in charge of choosing, which operation you go to went, well, you're going to be off of this one. Come over here. And he went along with it because, you just follow along so that everything runs smoothly. And what it comes out is his choice to do that means that the Turkish laborer died. And I do kind of like looking at it from afar, it's kind of humorously arrogant that he's like, oh, if I had worked on him, he would have been saved. But, I mean, he's kind of validated by the story and the fact that his coworkers just seem to be not that great.
Yeah, why is he the only good doctor? Like, all the other doctors like seem like they can't do their job at all.
I don't think it's a great hospital if you go, well, we have to make a choice, and one of these people is going to die because we have only one good doctor.
That's what I was thinking, like, in the first part of the story, which like, get better doctors.
Okay, but to be fair, this is 1986, so, like, not as advanced in medicine we can kind of claim, and, like, where they are, and, like...
But it's still, like, the modern world. Like, it's not the 17th century.
That's what annoys me about what happens later with the promotion. Like,
okay, well,
yeah.
So, he's kind of upset by that, and he brings it up to his girlfriend Eva, and she says, what's that great line? Not all lives are equal, while holding a wine glass after having...
Yeah.
Like, I love the fact that the conversation is interrupted also by, so they're at dinner together, and Eva is like, so we were fighting over this dress, but don't worry, me and my friend, I beat her, and I got the dress. And he's like, anyway, at the hospital, I think I had to choose between two people's lives. And she's like, that's fine.
I just like love the fact that her saying not all lives are equal it takes up the majority of the page. It's like, oh, oof, the impact of that.
I mean, that
feels so much
freaking,
worse.
that first chapter, I think it's the first chapter, it's the first 2 chapters, where he's just, it's a little bit comedic, where he just keeps having these flashbacks to things that we've seen him have flashbacks to already. I mean, we should say that obviously Naoki Urasawa's work is usually released chapter by chapter, month by month, so you would need to remember stuff that happened. So you need a little bit more of a reminder as compared to the fact that we're reading this all in one book. But I should say, I'm pretty sure he has 2 flashbacks to her saying those words in the same chapter. So it's just I mean, it's meant to show the mental anguish that it brings to him because, it's a little bit, I have read more than this first volume, but I should say the first volume feels a little bit weak as far as characterizing him, other than him being good things. I want to be good and save people. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I think the eventual villains that he goes up against are so, fundamentally different, where they're no, saving people's lives is, cool and all, but, medical research comes first.
Mm.
That for him to be maybe saving people's lives is important is super radical as comparison to all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even his coworker who, late in a later chapter is late to surgery because he was busy, banging a nurse or something. He's sorry, guys. Haha. Embarrassment slightly.
So is that villain not the villain we met at the end of this volume?
No, I'm talking mainly about the villains that are in this volume. And even the major villain we meet at the very end of the volume.
Oh, okay.
So, he's kind of struck by this comment that she makes that not all lives are equal.
And at that point, he doesn't think, should I really be dating this person?
I feel like it should have come up earlier.
I do like the fact that, he's thinks that, I mean, that just kind of shows what kind of person he is. He doesn't see that as there's something wrong with her so much as oh, she needs to be corrected, sort of. Mm. If I just explain it to her, she'll get it that other people's lives matter. And I mean, the same goes for when she brings him back to her father's place after their date, and she of course invites him in, and she's very well off. I think she says towards the beginning, when she's coming to check on him after the surgery, he's constantly having to do these late hours and sleeping in during the day. She's oh, don't worry about me. I can't live, what's the word she says? I can't live badly. She pretty much says, I cannot go through hardship. I need to have a comfortable life, she reminds him. And that's why you're doing these long hours.
Oh, gotcha.
But the fact that she constantly makes it about herself. So she brings him to her father and, she compliments, she said this previously in the first scene with him. And, I mean, major red flag where she's my father loved the thesis you're writing. Anyway, can he use it? He's going to directly hand over all the scientific, information he's been collecting from these trials for her father's sake to impress people.
Mm-hmm. It was also, he didn't he also say in a separate, I think there's a flashback of him being oh yeah, your research is canceled. That research you're doing?
This is what happens right here, pretty much, I think.
Oh, I thought that was 2 different things, where he was oh wait, no,
that's later, actually. That's totally...
No, I'm not.
I know what you're talking about, but we'll get to that, because, I mean, the tables turn on him very quickly. Tenma at the moment is doing very well. People look up to him. Of course, he's got this rich and nice girlfriend. Nice as in attractive, I guess. And so, he's there at their house, and the father, I'm trying to remember. He's trying to direct him to new research, I think. He's like, oh, no, this is great what you've written, but, I need this other stuff because I just got invited to this conference. So you need to direct your attention to what I think is the priority. And of course, you kind of see him roll over where he's just like, okay, yeah, sure. And of course, it bothers him. I'm trying to remember exactly what... the father says, like I said, I mentioned it sort of. The father says, saving lives comes second to the medical research that we are looking at doing. And so that grouped with what his daughter has said to Tenma, he's upset by both of those statements. And then the next day he gets confronted by the Turkish laborer's wife, who he had seen crying in the hallway. She tells him, my husband came in first before the opera singer. I know that you didn't operate on him. You were operating on the opera singer. Why didn't my husband get the best care first? Mm-hmm. And, she's basically cries on him, and, she's brought their child with her. So it's just standing in a room being berated by someone who is very clearly distraught. That paired with the two statements kind of bothers him a lot.
Also, I was just going to say, I had not realized, I don't know if this is just a thing in Europe, or if it's the same in the United States, or only before the 21st century, but I didn't know that practicing doctors did research too. That was just a shock in and of itself, more so than the morality, or well, not more so than the morality. Obviously the morality hit the hardest, but I was like, oh, you guys are not only are you putting the research above saving people's lives, I thought that saving lives was the only thing you did. I didn't know that doctors even I thought that there would be medical researchists or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just have two different jobs. I don't know.
It's interesting because, I think he discusses it later to himself. Tenma is thinking over why he came here, because he wanted to do further research into stuff he's interested in medically. And then he just sort of found out that he was a great surgeon, and that kind of somehow becomes this, it gets in the way because everybody wants him to constantly be the one doing the surgery because they know he's going to do great. Mm-hmm. So I'm just how did you find out you were a great surgeon by accident?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just weird that...
There was nothing about balancing water on his head as a kid?
Well, in actuality, I'm pretty sure what he says is, he was just sort of well, I have to do a job here or else they're not going to keep me here. So surgery it is, because I've been trained in that. And then it just came out that he was the best one around, because I guess all of them just are really bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I might skip something by accident. But all these feelings he's having sort of come to a head when the police are called to the scene of a apparent break-in. These two foreign officials, they just moved from East Germany to this part of Germany. They escaped. They escaped. But I think they had an actual they had some sort of importance in the government.
They were, I want to say delegates or something, some kind of, or ambassador, some kind of vague government job.
Yeah. Foreign dignitaries, I don't know.
It was also interesting that they, at the end of that issue, they were mentioned in the beginning while he was watching the news.
Yeah. So one of the first, that's the second scene actually, they get mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
He's, Eva's woken him up because he just got done with that surgery of the opera singer. It's on the news in the background. And I think it makes sense because they're, like we said, they have some importance in the government of East Germany, and they just escaped from there and moved here with their twin children.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's it's a little bit newsworthy.
Yeah.
And then right after that is the opera singer news. So they find out how great it did for the hospital, the logistics. But yeah, so this sort of comes to a head. The two parents are murdered. And the twin sister is found standing over her brother's body, and he's been shot in the head. And so, of course, he's still alive, actually. The parents are dead, and the boy is brought to the hospital at the same time as... I guess I can kind of see that, Jake, where it's the mayor has now just been fatally, whatever. I don't know what medical thing it is that happened to him.
He had,
but pretty much
thrombosis or something, which is a clot in your head.
Yeah.
A thrombosis is a clot, and then it just happened to be in his head.
I think... yeah, it is really weird that it's just but I think also just the fact that they're kind of old people in this is the 80s. The mayor.
Maybe it's just something in the water.
It is also
I don't know.
It is also Germany, probably eating a lot of sausage, not very health conscious in the 1980s.
Okay, but I could see that giving them heart problems, but not necessarily what are supposed to be rare neurological conditions.
Oh, okay. I don't know the difference
to be fair,
between the words.
It was just
using.
2 in a row. It's just 2 in a row, man. They were just eating so much of the same meals, that famous opera singer and the mayor.
Yeah.
They're too extravagant.
Yeah,
so the mayor is brought in at the same time, and so Tenma's pretty much being told, oh, you're about to go in and operate on that boy who's just been shot in the head and there's the bullet still in his brain. We need you over here, actually, because the mayor's here, and you know how important the mayor is. I think it's even the director says it to Tenma himself, where he's now, we need to keep the mayor alive for a little bit longer, because he said he's going to give more money to the hospital. I love the way he says it. We need to keep him alive for a little bit longer. Should be a nice little perk of keeping him alive.
Yeah, if he comes back and he's not going to give us more money, we could just,
then what
not
was the point?
assign you.
Yeah.
Yeah, next time he has a super rare neurological condition, we won't send you to save his life.
Yeah.
So, Tenma is haunted by the words of Eva, who's not all lives are equal, smiley face, and the director himself being saving lives is kind of a cool thing we do sometimes.
But it's only a perk of the job. It's not
we
why you're
consider
here.
it. Yeah, we consider it something to do sometimes. And once again, flashbacks, and he's just thinking of the emotions of, the Turkish laborer's wife coming in and confronting him like that. You could have not done that, and my husband would be alive, and I wouldn't be in such a bad situation. Why would you choose that? Why would you choose his life, trying to value one life over the other? And so he chooses to go against everybody's directions, and he goes in and does surgery on the young boy and removes the bullet from his brain. And that kid makes a great recovery, I should say.
Yeah, no scars, nothing. He's looking great.
Well, not just that. The fact that, so, of course, we'll talk about that.
So it was also in this issue where that I think it was flashback to the research. So Kenzu was like, "Yeah, I'm doing research on subarachnoid hemorrhage," and the director was like, "No, actually, cancel your research. I want you to write a manuscript that I will present on a proposal to implement a continent-wide medical care network brought about by the new electronics media."
Yeah, I mentioned that, but I mischaracterized it as him being invited to a conference and needing something from Tenma. That's a lot bigger than just like a speech.
Yeah, and then
but yeah, he totally is just whatever.
Mm-hmm. And
the thing that you just presented is the most important. Oh, sorry, Talon.
Mm-hmm. This was also a memorable part where he was like, the director was like, people are confused about what doctors actually are. We're not volunteers, okay? We're focused on the academic first and saving lives second.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's the famous line between Eva's "Not all lives are equal."
Yeah.
What is it? Yeah, her father's whole thing. We're focused on saving lives second.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Tenma made that choice, and so he can continue to take pride in himself morally.
Yeah.
And he faces, of course, immense fallout from that. The fact that, well, first of all, everybody's like, well, Mayor's dead. Died. Thanks a lot for that.
Mm-hmm.
We only have one good surgeon that we can ever use.
Yeah.
It's the one good card in our D&D dagger. Sorry. I get so mad thinking about it, like all the different little domino effects. How Eva's like, ignore now, and suddenly she's dating a new dude, and he gets removed.
There you go.
Yeah, literally at the party. But no, he gets removed as head of surgery, right?
Or he gets passed over.
I think
he had some position, and he kind of gets demoted, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think it was
Oh yes,
demoted.
okay.
He was just passed over.
You're right. At the party, they're like, and the new head of surgery, and Tenma's like, better go up there. The director's like, don't even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
We have this new nominee, and they bring in, what is it, the doctor who did the surgery on the mayor, and he died still.
Yeah. Yeah. So
he's lost his last two patients.
That's what made me so mad. I was like, you're literally promoting the guy who had his patients
cannot do his job.
You mean the guy who couldn't save?
That's literally
the guy.
I mean, that's literally real life. That's literally real life.
Yeah,
like they say,
true,
it's
though.
Politics. You literally can mess up at your job like a billion times, and if you know the right people, they're like, well, he's a great guy. Only killed a few people.
I've it's not the same, but I worked at a grocery store, and I can't tell you the number of times I saw people get passed over for promotions than people who were demonstrably worse at their job, and they got the good stuff. So it's that's cool.
I mean, the one slacker doctor was talking to Tenma about that, where he's like, I was gonna say the one doctor was talking to Tenma about that previously, before all this fallout happened. He was like, you're dating the director's daughter, you're best friends with the director, you know that he's using you.
Yeah.
And you're letting him use you because it helps you. And he even goes, there's power in being used, like you said. I wish I was being used. And it's maybe if you were decent at anything, people would want to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
He's like, well, at least the ladies are interested in doctors.
I almost had that guy pegged as the bad guy.
He has that much ambition.
He's too much of comedic relief for that.
He's too incompetent. Like,
But
he's
that's
too much
ex-
of a
that's ex-
slacker. Like, he'd just be napping.
That's exactly why you wouldn't.
That would be a
suspect
good
him, but
disguise,
really,
though.
Yeah.
He's not actually napping. He's strategizing in his mind with his eyes closed.
yes. Uh,
So the position
Anyway,
that he
so-
was passed over was the position as chief cranial nerve surgeon.
I mean, I think they said it's like head of surgery. Sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Is how they said the shorthand for it sometimes. So yeah, I love it's very dramatic how they pass him over. They're not just like, hey, we're not going to give it to you anymore. They literally were like, at the party, he's ready to walk up there, and they're like, not you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you even doing here?
Yeah.
And he tries to walk. Of course, that's upsetting. This is the thing he's been kind of looking forward to, and everybody's been patting him on the back. All your hard work, everything you've shown to us, like, this great performance is going to be rewarded. And then it doesn't. Him choosing his morals over their directions, leads to this fallout. What is it? Yeah, I think he even says, is this the part where the director says to him that his research is entirely canceled? Not even just to put it off to the side?
No. This is where he was
Okay.
like, your prospects of improving are zilch, and don't even think about
You are
going
never
somewhere
going.
else.
You are never going to get a promotion,
Yeah.
and you are not going to be able to work somewhere else because you're a foreign doctor, and I will not write you a letter.
Yeah.
And and then he gets passed over at the ceremony, and so he walks out and he sees Eva, who's hurrying into the party, and he's like, "Oh, Eva, you got to talk to your dad about this. You got to explain to him, like, the decision I made and why I had to make it." And she looks at him and she drops her engagement ring and walks in.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Oh, it's Dr. So-and-so." And he's like, "Oh, you look as beautiful as always, Eva." And just like, that's it. They're dating now.
Yeah. Dr. Norden was his name.
Yeah. Freaking.
How does it feel to be?
That's great.
No, you know what? I would want to say, how does it feel to be a rebound guy? But I'm sure he doesn't care.
Yeah, like, is that,
No.
like, her whole purpose, like, as, like, the director's daughter is just, like, you date who I say to, like, to make sure they're in my pocket, I guess?
I feel like it's more of the opposite, where all the guys are lining up because they know that then they get to be closer to the director by dating her.
Oh.
But I feel like she didn't choose Tenma, though. Like, she, like, got with, is it Tenma? Am I wrong
The
on
main
that?
character?
Yeah.
Yeah, the main
Yeah.
character. Like, I don't feel like she chose him. It seems like she got, like, pointed at him as, like, hey, his research is really good. Why don't you get with him, and then I can get, like, his thesis and
I
other
think
stuff
in
from him.
that case, yes, but I don't. It feels different for the other ones. Because they feel so fake.
Mm-hmm.
Here, the Dr. Nord, whatever, where he's like, just the way he talks with her. Like, they have that later scene again where Tenma sees her in the hospital and she's going up to Dr. Nord and she's like, "Oh, you're late. Now you have to take me shopping." And he's like, "Oh, don't be too hard on me now." Just like,
Okay, so you think it's just to, like, dunk on Tenma, like, every time?
well, no, I'm just saying that, like, I think a lot of the doctors other doctors, because they're not as talented as Tenma, have to be a lot more shrewd and, like, I need to be maneuvering
Mm.
closer. Whereas Tenma is just like, "Man, I'm really good at this."
Mm.
Oh, wow, perks.
I mean, I was like, man, dating the daughter of your boss, that just sounds like a terrible situation to be in.
It's never a good idea.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem great. Which would make it seem better where it's like, you're just a pawn for the director.
Mm.
That would make it make more sense to me.
Oh,
But,
gotcha.
there's not a lot of proof for that,
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
guess.
I just think it's a mix of the two. In Tenma's case, it was he didn't realize quite until it happened how great it would be. Yeah, so he's left with all this fallout. Now, instead of like using him for important surgery cases, they're just using him constantly. So he's like barely able to sleep, like horrible hours. And I think even the slacker doctor comes up to him, is like, you know that they're like trying to wear you thin, so this is what you get for, you know, making your own decisions. And Tenma's like, no, you know, now that I think about it, it's my decision. You know, I finally took control and I went with my morals instead of just going along with their silly games. You know, he's starting to take a little bit more
Or confidence in his decision.
Yeah, to some degree. I think we see later that it's a little bit of a facade. Like, he's doing his best to salvage his pride by going, you know, I made the decision and I just need to take comfort in that it was my decision. And the slacker doctor's like, well, you're stuck with me now, I guess. It's great. We can be best friends.
I appreciate that guy's attitude. Like, you know, it's nice to be with somebody who has a positive attitude, even if you like your whole life just fell apart in front of your eyes. Like, at least you're not with a downer, I guess.
No, see.
Yeah, you're stuck. You're stuck in this hospital. You can't go somewhere else. You can't do the research you wanted, and they're just gonna use you like a dog.
Now, see, that guy irritated me, and this is the reason why I don't like him, is because he was like, hey man, look, like, you're young, you really should get married. I mean, I don't know why you're waiting so long. Like, man, if I was in your position, I'd have 5 women. I was like...
I mean, that's later.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm not going to say, like, he's perfect. I'm just saying, like, I appreciate a positive attitude.
Yeah.
But yeah, so...
I'm just like...
You know, Tenma's trying to take pride in his decision that ruined his life, apparently. And, you know, I think he goes and tells the one twin brother that he saved. You know, he's there at his hospital bed and the kid's out. You know, he got done with surgery, how many days ago? Probably, like, only within the last few days. And so he's talking to the unconscious kid, like, about everything that's happened, like, everything he's had to face because I chose to save you, is I think kind of how he phrases it. And he's like, isn't that crazy? Anyway, I better go do my rounds. Like, it, you know, feels a little bit more comforting to tell this to someone, even if you can't really understand or hear it. Gotcha. And he leaves. And then, of course, you know, audiences let in on the fact that the kid was awake. The most creepy, like, eyes open ever. But yeah, that's my whole thing with, like, I'm pretty sure that kid just had surgery a few days ago where they removed a bullet from his brain. And now he's just, like, opening his eyes and obviously, like, listening to what Dr. Tenma was talking about.
Are we on...
But then...
Are we on chapter 4 now? Or...
It's around there. I'm just sort of going off of memory.
So is this when he says all the stuff about, like, the people above him, that they should die, or is that later?
That it's then.
Okay.
He makes that statement. That's good. I forgot that. He lets himself be very distraught for a moment where he's like, God, I wish they were dead because, you know, all these things they've chosen to do to me.
Yeah, I didn't catch that at first. Because I didn't realize that he said that around the kid. And then, because I thought he was, like, passed out at his house when he said that.
Nah, yeah, hospital. Yeah, so then meanwhile, there's this whole, like, thing going on where they're like, man, kind of sad that we let the mayor die. Too bad we couldn't save him. We need that funding. We need to improve our public image. And the police are like pressuring them. They're trying to talk to the sister, but she's in such a state still. Ever since the robbery is what they're assuming it is.
I don't know why they assume it's a robbery, though. With, like, recent defectors from a, still, at this point, like, communist state. Like, why it must be a robbery. It definitely can't be politically motivated.
It's local police, and then they do say that things were taken, right?
But it's like, I just don't see how that's, like, it's the most simple if it were, like, anybody else. But it's recently defected, politically important individuals who got murdered. Like, how does that not immediately go, it's gotta be?
I mean, they're trying to get to the bottom of it by talking to the girl. You know, they feel, you know, she's the witness. You know, if they can get some sort of information out of her, she probably saw the people. Like, they can get to the bottom of it. And even when she was first brought in, the only thing she said is kill. And like even now, she just looks zoned out, and all she can say is kill. And so the police are like, man, maybe if we reunite her with her brother, that would jog her memory. And they're like, oh, no. The doctor who's in charge of this, Dr. Tenma, said we're not allowed to do that yet. You know, it's not ready. And the police are like, darn it. And then meanwhile, the hospital's like, we really need to improve our image.
I know what to do it.
What better way than a
photo op?
Yeah. So this is the time when they come up with the photo op. I mean, they come up with the photo op idea, and then it's the director. It goes to the boys' room with the two other guys. I can't remember their positions. They have high positions in the hospital. They're similar to him. And so they're in the boys' room. They're talking about, they're like, you know, patients like this are useless because there's so much attention on us about it. Look at all these presents he got sent. You know, it brings attention, but like, what do we get out of it?
Didn't they also say it's like
the treatment costs
the other patients?
Yeah, it's disruptive. And they're like, the treatment costs, you know, don't even cover the amount of like disruption it causes. Don't even make up for it. And then that's when they talk about the photo op idea of like, oh, we can show how great we are, improve our image because we let the mayor die. And they're like, oh, but the doctor who's in charge of this says that we can't do it. And the director's like, huh? Who? And he's like, he starts rifling through the kid's stuff and like picks up a candy and like eats some of it.
Oh.
And the other guy there is like, oh, it's the doctor in charge of this is Dr. Tenma. And the director hands some candy to them too, and he's like, well, you know, we're the ones who are in charge, just remove him.
I didn't realize that was the kid's candy. I thought he just had it.
Nah, he was rifling through the kid's presents, like looking at like, ugh, look at all this stuff this kid got sent. This dumb kid who got shot in the head. Worthless. Like, it's interesting how quickly he looks down on everything around him.
Yeah,
but yeah, so you know, Tenma gets removed from the care, and he finds out when like he goes there and sees
Anna.
Well, he's going past the hospital room, and the brother's name is Johanna.
Johan.
I thought it was
Johan?
like Johan or something.
Yeah, it's
German.
I'm pretty sure it's Johan, and then she's Anna. Yeah, so the sister name is Anna, and the brother's name is Johan. And he sees Anna screaming and like having to be taken away by people, and she's like, "What Tenma's like, what the heck is going on? Like, I told you not to bring her to her brother at this time. And they're like, well, you're not in charge anymore, and we've got a camera, so we wanted to get the beautiful reunion pictures for the media. And he goes, whatever, though, looks like it worked. Like, and they look in, and Joanne is like, has woken up. He's been asleep most of these times. He's been asleep this entire time, and he's woken up, and he's crying and reaching out towards the door.
Yeah, the thing about that was like,
sister.
The doctor was like, hey man, you were supposed to just, help him with the bullet in his head. Look at him. He's up. Your job's done. You're good.
I mean, they make sure to tell him that he's been removed from this. He's no longer the one looking after them, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit more of a, like... but don't feel too bad about it, You may have been removed, but, like, you basically did it.
But he's got such a smirk on his face when he has the camera, that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, at this point, like, it's just, like, further debasement. Like, I don't know if that's, like, a huge thing at this for Tenma. Like, it sucks, but like compared to everything else, like, is it that bad?
I do think it does feel a little bit like a mortal blow, though, doesn't it? Because the one thing he chose to save was this kid, and suddenly now he's no longer looking after them. He's been removed from that case.
Well, and like he said, you all wanted him to die. Y'all were like, no, his life doesn't matter. And now you're taking me off?
You don't care about him, yeah,
Yeah, so after that, he sees Eva, and
that's the part with...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the part where she walks in, he's like, Eva, like, she just walks past him, like, straight to the other doctor. It's like, you're taking me shopping. He's just like, and so, he's being reminded of everything that happened to him. He's been taken off the one case that, like, has had such a profound impact on him. I mean, in a bad way, sort of.
Yeah.
He's no longer looking after the twins, or the brother, Shohan. And so he goes out drinking. And so that night he's drunk, and he's like, damn it, screw them all. I was right. My decision was right. They were all wrong. I wish they were dead. Just knocking things over in the street and then going home drunk.
Yeah, he's falling apart at this point. It's kind of rough.
Eva takes Dr. Norden to see her father.
So after their date, obviously shopping, just like she did with Tenma, she's like, oh, why don't you come in too to see my dad, just as like for fun, like the director of the hospital that you work at. And so she goes in and she looks for her father, and she finds him slumped over at his desk dead.
Yeah. At the same time, the two doctors that were with the director talking about Johan died as well.
Yeah.
So the new head of cranial surgery dies. Guy that was chosen for the position that Dr. Tenma wanted dies. And the dude who told him not to operate on the kid also died.
Yeah, all these newly minted enemies of Tenma all die very suddenly. Which is suspicious, to say the least.
Yep.
Yeah, it's because it's such a high-profile case, it brings in the BKA, right?
Oh, okay. Can anyone pronounce the name of the BKA?
I don't have it in front of me.
Because
I didn't even bother.
I'd throw a shot out. But...
Okay, so let's see if I can find it. It's like Bundeskriminellamt. Won't.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those German words. Like, German is an interesting language where it's like they just take component parts of words to put together. And so, like, all the translations are super literal. So, like, if you take birth control, it's an anti-baby pill. It's like...
no, it's
they call them,
anti-baby pillin.
as well,
Has
yeah.
the EN at the end.
It's like it's a bunch of stuff like that where it's like, oh, if we don't have a word for it, we'll just take words that we already have and plug them together until we get something that's like basically what we mean. And I feel like that's why that word is the way it is.
Thai is like that too. Like cartoon in Thai is cartoon.
Huh?
And carrot is karat. And apple is apon. So I love it. But yeah, so all three of them are dead mysteriously around the same time, but they're not near each other. Different locations.
Except for the dude who told him not to.
Well, yeah, the two dudes. The director dies separately in his death in his office at home, but the two other dudes who were there, I think, were just hanging out together when they died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he gets
But yeah, so like the police investigate. Yeah, the police investigate and find out that it was poisoning, and they all died roughly at the same time. And I think it's like at the funeral where we meet the definitely not a robot investigator.
Yeah, Dr. Lung.
Oh, also the kids disappeared.
That's true.
Yeah, they do that a lot. I don't know. Actually, I guess this is the last time they do it, but it's like before the time skip, like they don't find them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
like
kids literally disappear
gone?
at the same time.
Yeah.
And because of all this weird mystery surrounding it, they bring in like this, I wanted to say federal inspector as compared to like the local inspector.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
But-
they definitely had that dynamic of like local cop meets FBI. It's like, oh great,
Yeah,
here's
no,
the
totally.
FBI.
Where he was, I mean, they were even worried about that previously when they were talking with Anna, or at least they were trying to get Anna to talk to them. Where they're like, if we don't figure this out, they're gonna bring in the big guys,
Yep.
and then we won't get to solve it, and they'll get all the like praise. But like you said, even though they bring in like this Inspector Lung, is it Lunge?
I pronounce it lunch.
Yeah, I think it's Lunge. Inspector Lunge, they never find the kids. He's like, I am looking into it. And he's like you said, he's doing the weird little thing when he talks to Tenma, where he's like, on the side of his leg, he's doing like, it looks like, I mean, the literal thing is it's keyboard input. He's doing to his imaginary brain keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps him remember things really well.
Mm-hmm. Dang near photo. What's the word?
Photographic memory?
Yeah. Oh my god. Dang near
You
photographic
said
memory.
like 70% of it. I don't know.
And also at the funeral, Eva, the funeral for Eva's dad, the director, you know, she's just like crying, and what is it? Dr. Nord is like trying to comfort her, and he's like, "You must control yourself and keep yourself, you know, keep your composure," and she's just like, let me cry over the casket of my father, the person who is keeping me afloat.
Yeah, like it's her father's funeral. Like, I don't see why it's like, nah, I gotta be composed, no tears. Like, what do you expect?
Wait. I mean, camera. Paparazzi.
She's allowed to make a scene. It's her father's funeral.
Oh.
Yeah, she doesn't have her mother, so obviously her father was, you know, he's the one who's keeping her financially. Probably, you know, her life kind of revolves around him and his work.
Yeah. I can't have a hard life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that line. And, you know, of course, Tenma tries to...
Yes?
Sorry, am I getting I couldn't tell if people froze. Am I getting people mixed up though? Because I thought that um the person that Eva was dating now was the same guy that got the promotion that Tenma was promised initially. Okay.
Nah.
Because
The,
yeah,
the,
that
the guy she's dating has glasses and lighter hair, and the other guy is dark hair.
Okay, gotcha. And that the guy that got the promotion died.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good to know. I was like, man, did she
so-
like also not mourn her new boyfriend?
Well, honestly, though,
three-
I feel like if her
three
boyfriend
scenes of
died, she would
funerals.
still mourn over her father more. I would think that.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, like she obviously doesn't have a lot of like emotional stake in who she chooses.
Mm.
Yeah, so, I mean, Tenma tries to comfort her in that moment, but it doesn't really work out. She's too busy crying. And so Tenma goes to leave. You know, everybody's sort of leaving at the end of the funeral, and that's when Tenma meets this new Inspector Lunge. And Inspector Lunge is like, don't worry, I'm on the case. I'll find the missing children, and da-da-da-da.
Does he look a little like
Looking into
Spock?
this all. I mean, he has that kind of serious vibe, but I mean, it's just dark hair and like a prominent nose.
Or is it the Submariner? Namor. No? You don't think he
No.
looks like any of those people?
No.
Okay. I guess it's just me then. Oh, I also wanted to note that I thought that the director Heinemann, Eva's dad, looked like Alfred Goff from Batman. He played Alfred.
Who played?
From Tom,
It's just old man face.
Oh,
the 1989
yeah.
Batman.
No.
No.
89 Batman, that Alfred has way more wrinkles. No.
I don't even remember.
But yeah, so actually, I mean, the fact that the director died, and then Tenma gets called, when he goes back to the hospital, he gets called back to, he gets called to this board of, I don't know what they are.
Mhm.
Yeah, these are like the stockholders of the hospital, I guess. Like they own it, I guess. I don't know.
I feel like they probably they probably usually convene and talk to the director, but like the director usually relays the information to everybody else, or is like it makes the decision and then they approve it. Where in this case, I think because the director's died, they are making the decision. And so they bring Tenma in there, and you know the big dramatic reveal: we're putting you in that position of that guy that just died, the one you really wanted. Congrats!
No.
You did a good job.
I think he took the other guy's position. But
like, regardless of the position he takes, like that makes it way more suspicious than he was already. Where it's like, yeah, everybody who was making your life hard and you hated died all at once, and then you got a promotion because of that directly.
He definitely didn't get director because he's still working towards that.
Well, yeah. Well, no, he wasn't. The guy that died, who was right next to the other dude, he took that dude's position.
So he's just in charge of managing who gets to do surgery.
Yes, I think yes. I am fairly confident that was the job he took over.
I mean, I don't think it's super relevant, actually, because I also just didn't take note of it. Mm-hmm. What we get out of it is, like you said, Tenma is now back in good graces. He now has the chance to keep moving up All the people who were in his way and who politically within the hospital had a vendetta against him are dead.
Yeah.
And his alibi is I was out drinking and drunk, and so he sort of has an alibi. Like, all these bars are like, yeah, the dude came in and wandered around drunk. And then there's this time skip.
Well, first, he starts laughing, chuckling to himself.
Yeah.
And then later that night, he's talking with Eva. And Eva's like, oh, I heard you got a promotion. Oh, that's really nice.
I don't know what she expected.
Anyway, I have feelings for you again. It was so nice of you to try to comfort me with a few words at the funeral when I was hysterically crying. Thank you.
I mean,
I never stopped loving you.
He was just like, Eva.
Yeah, he literally, that's all he did. He literally was like, Eva. The other guy was literally like, please, Eva, keep your composure. But, like, he was trying to be semi-empathetic. He was trying to hold her or whatever.
Yeah.
And she was just like, let me cry in hysterics. She wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally forgot that. I love that scene where, like, he just, like, leaves. He's like, bye.
Does he even say bye?
Love you.
She's just like,
no, he doesn't.
I like you. I'm gone.
He's got his coat and he's leaving immediately. That was great. Like, yeah, she runs out onto the street, doesn't she? And she's like, no.
And she screams his name even.
Yeah. Yeah.
The drama.
The drama.
And then we get a 9-year time jump.
Yeah.
I'll be real. It feels like things stayed the same pretty much over these 9 years.
Germany is unified, so that's cool.
Yeah.
They do
but
have
nothing
that
really
great...
changes at the hospital.
Yeah. It literally, the time skip starts out with, like, the police being like, God, I thought when the Berlin Wall fell, we'd all be happy and world peace. He's like, this sucks. And they're, like, fishing bodies.
Yeah.
They're like, are they fishing bodies out of the water, or are they moving bags?
They're moving through the water. I don't know if they're fishing anything. But they are.
Okay, I think
there was a body found on the water.
Okay.
Yeah.
But pretty much what they're investigating at the moment is these couples who are upper middle class, slightly affluent, being killed. And it sort of looks like a robbery, but there's, like, no evidence being left, and it's not a ton of stuff being taken.
Yeah.
As much as it could be.
They're rich couples who have no children. That was their...
Well, Inspector Lunch comes in and is like, you guys didn't really notice, did you, that, like, all these couples also happen to be childless, even though they're living, slightly affluent lives and could totally afford a child. They're childless.
Also, this was
so
a
little bit.
So I noticed that the guy that he was talking to is a different inspector than the guy that we first met, but he looks exactly the same, except for maybe the hair. I think he has a little bit better stylized hair.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, the local police changes more often than, like, the higher up.
No, I'm saying that the lower police was looked the same.
Yeah, it looks the same, but you're saying it's a different guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was saying I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same area, but it's a new police officer in charge.
Oh, okay.
Meanwhile, Inspector Lunge is still in charge because, not as much moving around.
Yeah, and then a guy gets brought up, Adolf Junkers, because he was seen at the crime at the last 3. So there were 4 couples who died, and then the last 3, he was seen at the scene of the crime.
he was seen snooping around near it, and he's known for his lock-picking skills.
Yep. And so they were like, all right, that's our guy right now, suspect.
Yeah, we need to track him down and find out what he knows. Because it seems like these weren't carried out alone. And that's also what makes it so suspicious that so little is being taken as far as robbery. Because it wouldn't be enough to, like, satisfy doing it if there was several people involved. Meanwhile, Tenma is doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the patients love him.
He's having to beat women off with a stick.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, also,
even though, like, the guy from before, like, keeps setting him up with dates.
I was a little surprised that he doesn't have any conflict with the board of directors at all. Like, he's having conflict.
Yeah, I get the whole thing of, like, it's been pretty smooth sailing for the last 9 years. It's a little weird after having going through, like, some of that. I mean, so much in such a short amount of time. They can just, those like, 3 main obstacles in my life were removed for me to forever have a happy ending.
It was 2 weeks where his life just fell apart, and then 9 years of smooth sailing.
Yeah.
But don't worry, we'll make up for it now.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit weird, especially the fact that he looks so much the same.
No, what I thought was more weird was the fact that Dr. Tenma seemed like A-okay, completely ignoring the fact that the child he saved disappeared, and like he was just fine. He didn't want to look for him at all. He's
got a comfy position now. He's doing what he cares about, saving people's lives. There's a lot more people's lives he has had to save in these last 9 years. If he's like constantly saving like opera singers and like mayors.
Yeah.
I mean, I think because he meets Inspector Lunge again, and he's like, Inspector Lunge is like, I'm still looking into those missing children. Don't worry, I'm on the case. And Tenma's like, thank you for all your service.
Yeah. There's only one case that I haven't figured out.
I guess. It's those missing kids.
I do love how Tenma is always like, thank you for your service. Thank you for your hard work. When you haven't solved the case.
Well, it's his persistence.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's tricky.
I feel like it's also a little bit kind of the fact that Tenma's Japanese, where he's like, thank you for doing this. Great job. Public servant.
I don't know. It was just
find
weird.
Them.
It's weird to me, especially when it's like one of the people who disappeared was somebody who very recently was like had major brain surgery and probably isn't able to move around that much on their own. So, but it's like, how do you not find them? How do they keep disappearing all the time? But I guess that's the narrative has to go on. So,
yeah, it's interesting. Even the fact that now, like, so when I suggested this story, so a lot of my confusion, I don't want to go into it too much because I know the answer now, and I'm like, I'm not able to discuss it without like being like, well, and the answer is this, so we have to have suspension of belief.
So Dr. Tenma is like being scoped out for, I don't know if it's like a fluff piece, I'm not sure, but they're like watching him do this operation, and they were like, today's operation is paracellular meningioma.
Those are students, isn't it?
Is that?
Yeah,
maybe?
I think that they're students. Yeah,
Okay.
they're medical students.
Yeah, because they're like, oh my god, I wish we could do that.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
someday we can be this cool.
Mm-hmm. And then I was like, paracellular meningioma. What in the world is that? And that,
So you looked it up.
yes, and it is. Oh wait, sorry. Paracellular meningioma extirpation is the operation where a tumor, which is the meningioma, is extracted, extirpation, from the area of the brain near the pituitary glands. Paracella.
Yeah. I mean, they were literally like, the tumor! Man, isn't it so cool how, like, easily he handled it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Took care of it.
Yep.
So yeah, he's just a rock star, even at his hospital.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's like, please don't leave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the fact that, I'm trying to remember, actually, like, what really makes him go, maybe I should leave.
Well, so that was actually in 9 years ago when people were like, "Don't leave."
Okay. Oh yeah, that's the whole thing where he's like, I think the only way to, the only way to fix this situation is probably just to go back to Japan.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see a future for myself here. And then all that, the murders happen, and he's suddenly set up for life.
Yeah.
But yeah, even then,
That's
people
right.
really liked him. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when you have to choose between two surgeries if one's going to survive, and you only have him for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 1 out of 2 is better than none.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he surprisingly reminds me kind of how people write Superman a little bit. Like, he's like pretty morally like good, and then he's like really powerful in comparison to like everybody else around him. And
I mean, yeah, we talked about that towards the beginning. I think that's to set up for what's going to happen towards the end here.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he's confronted, because he says, they were all wrong, I was right. They were all wrong, I was right. I made the right decision to save that kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we're leading up to the point where it goes, well, what if you were wrong? Your entire life has been validated by the fact that you were right in that decision.
Mm-hmm.
What if you were wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
So, meanwhile, Adolf Junkers is running around, running from something, and then he gets run over and is sent to a hospital. The New Rhine.
The
General
one hospital.
the hospital that doesn't have Dr. Tenma. So they're like, we can't really operate on this guy. I mean, Dr. Tenma could, but I don't know if you can get him. He's like, I think he was talking to Inspector Lunge, and he was like, I could get him.
But they're like, yeah, there's pressure because it's a police case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then that's when he meets Inspector Lunge again, and then Tenma's like, "What? Oh yeah, you're that guy. Yeah, I am that guy." And
I do love how Inspector Lunge is constantly like, yes, you, like just remembering people left and right. Like, I remember you in 1991. People are like, what the heck? That was like 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he tells him that, oh, I'm still looking into the case. Yeah, I'm still looking into the case. It is still unsolved, but I'll get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, and then it gets really
Thank you for your
tense.
service.
And like this kind of like it kind of annoyed me because it seemed like I don't know, like obviously it's been like some time since like the one guy got ran over, but assumably like the sooner you operate, the better the results are gonna be. and like it just seems
Yeah,
like
they're
he
so
keeps
busy.
getting held up. It's like
Yeah.
Freaking,
it's all
yeah.
like, wait,
well, I mean,
one more thing.
doesn't help. It doesn't help that Inspector Lunge is like, man, Tenma, you've really done good for yourself ever since those 3 murders.
He's like, what are you insinuating?
Tenma's like, thank you. My life is going pretty smoothly. I like it that way.
Yeah, it just seems like he can't get through the door to go to the operation. I'm like, come on, just be like, okay, I'm very busy, bye. Like, and also Inspector Lunge,
Too busy
leave
getting
him
accused
alone.
of murder.
Yeah.
But
Just
then
seemed ridiculous to me after
Inspector
a couple
Lunge-
pages.
Inspector Lunge comes to the, I guess, obvious conclusion that it's Dr. Tenma who was responsible for the disappearance. Because he's the
You
most
really
again.
needed that revelation 9 years later, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, so he operates on Adolf Junkers, and the operation goes very successful. Obviously. Why would it go wrong? And so, yeah, now it's just like him. That's when he's talking to Junkers, and Junkers is like, the monster's coming. And you're like, hey, we get the monster in issue 6. Of
Name
8.
drop.
Yeah. Yep.
Wanted to say something, but no. I'm just gonna say you should totally read the next volume so you finally get to see Anna after the time skip.
Too soon.
The second
Cool.
volume. The second volume, finally.
Too soon.
We get one of the major characters.
Nice.
I mean, I can see why it needs all this build up as far as, like, if I was forced to, like, learn all this through, like, oh, my dark backstory of the time those 3 dudes died, it just would not be as, like...
Yeah. It's gripping.
Yes.
Yeah, so next issue 7, Inspector Lunge is interviewing Junkers, and he's like, all right, you were seen in the last 3 crimes. You know, what's up with that? You do, your job is to open doors, right? And like, therefore, there must have been several people working together. And the dude's just not answering. He's like, mm-hmm. And it's like, and Inspector's like, hey, if you come forth, we'll drop the charges. Like that. And still nothing. And then he asks, okay, so who hired you to do the jobs? And that's when Junkers lost it. Which actually, now that I think about it, it makes sense why he lost it at that question. But yeah, he was like, ah! And then Ten was like, all right, get out. Now, I'll be honest. So he was telling the inspector, get out, everyone get out. I'll be honest. I was a little annoyed with Tenma at that point. Because I'm like, what are you are obstructing justice right now, okay? Let's get the facts. And like, I understand.
So
like, he's losing it. I get
it's
it.
that whole thing. It's like always that way in police procedurals, right? Where it's like, oh man, if we just push him, he'll break soon. But it's also like, in reality, a lot of times, like, all this pressure doesn't always lead to the truth.
Yeah.
Just because he's having a mental break and he's willing to talk to you does not mean you are getting information that is actually relevant or helpful to the case. And I mean, it's always, like I was saying, it's always in the police procedurals too, where the doctor's like, you're making my patient scream. This is a hospital. Get out. Like, I'm in charge. You're in charge of finding out the truth. I'm in charge of keeping this patient from disturbing others and from hurting themselves. Yeah, so Tenma takes him out to the grounds and tries to get him to relax and tries to connect with him to some degree. I mean, I don't think Tenma is doing it super deliberately to get the real truth out of him. He's just doing what he knows best, trying to connect with the person there. And the guy kind of opens up to him, you know. It's not directly about the case, but he's like, you know, when I was young, I remember seeing in the toy shop the clock, and I really loved it. I was just a kid then. And so I tried breaking in to get it.
Yeah, that was
and
the
of
first
course
place.
I got caught right away. Yeah, I got caught right away, but that led to me developing my good lock-picking skills. All because of that clock. I just wanted that darn clock. You know, that dumb impulse desire for it led to this.
Yeah.
What has my life come to?
That's how I've been known. Yeah, and he also says that, Dr. Tenma, you remind me of my father.
Well, he doesn't say that, does he? He says,
or you're like my dad.
you know, we're like the same age, but you feel like my dad to me. Like the way you're treating me. You feel like a father to me.
and then Tenma jokes, he's like, well, I've gained quite a large son.
I thought that's cute.
Yeah, and so that's when Junkers is like, my partners were all killed.
Yeah, you don't understand how much I can't tell the truth about this.
Yeah. And that's where it kind of ends at that scene with Junkers being like, you know.
Did you not read the next chapter?
No, I mean, I said that's where that scene ends.
Okay. I thought you meant, like, the whole thing. I was
No.
that would really suck if you read this entire thing. You're like, cool, the end.
No. And the next scene is the goofball doctor, but not lovable goofball, is talking with Tenma, and he's like, hey man, did you, so I have this date or set up for you. All right, you ready to go? And he's like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Yeah, sure. It's like, all right, you know, make sure you actually go. I've set this up perfectly, you know? And then Tenma sees the clock, and he's like, it's the clock that the dude was talking about, Junkers. And so he gets to that clock, and presumably just skips out on the date and goes directly to Junkers. And
I mean, I want doctors that skip out on dates to, like, make me feel better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
After I've been hit by a car.
Yeah. And so then Junkers is like, hey, do you need to use the bathroom or something? I mean, he just goes to knock on the door for some reason. And
no, he says he wants to finally tell everybody the truth. Like,
gotcha.
He goes, Mr. Policeman, like, where are you? He goes out, because he's been being watched by a policeman normally, and he's looking for the guy. And he's like, I want to tell you guys everything. Just bring Dr. Tenma, too. Like, I'll feel okay doing it now.
Yeah.
I've thought about it. I need to come clean.
Yep. And then that's when he finds that, hey, the cop is not there.
Yeah, and that's when Dr. Tenma comes in with the big present. He's like, we're going to go up and see so-and-so. And the nurse is like, oh, yeah, that's fine. And he goes up there and finds the dead cop.
Yep. Yeah, and I think we missed the note, or we failed to note that the murders of the Heinemann director and the 2 other doctors, there were candy wrappers found near the murder. And so then, when this cop that was stationed at Junker's door was found dead, there was a candy wrapper next to him. They're like, same guy? Well, I mean, he doesn't say that, but...
Yeah, but I think it's to tell the audience that, this is related to that.
Yep. And so he goes...
Because, it was pretty obvious that it was the candies that killed those guys.
Mm-hmm.
The director and the other 2 guys.
Yeah.
Candy they decide to share in that kid's room.
Mm-hmm. And so Tenma runs after Junkers. And they go to... Was it parking garage? And that's where the monster is, all cloaked in shadow. And Junker's on the ground being like, "No, Doctor, go! Don't make him look at you," or something like that.
Don't let him see you, and don't get to see him, or else he'll target you.
Yeah. Which I was like, they have like magical powers? What, you see this person and he just dies? Is that what's going on here?
It's just the idea that he's so unrelenting, the moment you are a threat to him, he can just take you out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "It's been quite a while, Doctor. You saved my life 9 years ago." And he's like, "What? Johan?" Yeah. Yep. Kid.
The fact that he just instantly knows. But it would have been, that would have been bad if he said, somebody else. And the guy's like, "No, before that."
Oh, man. Yeah, that would have been really bad.
Do you remember the more important life?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the rest of this chapter is just the 3 of them, Tenma, Junkers, and Johan talking.
Tenma's trying to get Johan to you don't need to kill this guy. I don't know why you're pointing a gun at him.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to explain to him. He's trying to explain to him in the most basic why he doesn't need to kill him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, Johan shoots him anyway.
What I thought was interesting was he was trying to appeal to his humanity. He was like, "Wait, you are Johann Liebert, son of Michael Liebert, who was a German trade advisor." That's what he was. And you crossed the wall in 1986. And he was like, "I haven't been called that in a long time. That isn't my real name." And so that's when he says "Hey, I'm actually the one who killed the 3 dudes before that got you to where you are now."
Yeah, you're welcome. I really think of you like my father.
Yeah. Yeah, that was weird that he used the same terminology. Or described it in the same way. He was like, "After saving you, I realized that all people's lives are equal." And I'm thinking back, I was going to say, it's interesting he didn't say, if I had that mentality, you would not be here right now. You would not be alive. But, I don't know if that would have mattered to Johan.
Yeah, I don't think it would have, because they are pretty heavy-handed with life means nothing, absolutely nothing. There's the same amount of thought you put into stepping on an ant is the thought that he puts into killing people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I only did what you want to happen. And then Junkers dies, and then he's like, I should have died back then. But you saved me. And that's...
It's all thanks to you.
Yep. You brought me back to life. And that's when he sees him. And... I don't know. I got a real JoJo vibe from this dude.
It's...
I can see it. I understand where that's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely like later, but it's there.
Yeah. But yeah, so we see his face and he's like, no scars. Like, of course he's the guy you wouldn't expect to be a serial killer. Maybe I wouldn't.
He almost looks... Well, the thing is about him is... It's kind of creepy how unassuming he looks. Not unassuming, because then he would look average, but he's very pristine, very pretty, kind of put together looking. Well groomed.
Yeah.
And so it's almost unnerving. He just smiles at him as he leaves after shooting that man in front of him.
Yeah. So,
It's creepy how pretty he is.
so he's... Tenma's just like, okay. And he goes back to report this to Inspector Lunge. And then he's like, let's recap. But for the audience, let's recap what happened in this
Yeah,
story.
he is.
Okay, but can I say the fact that he's like, Dr. Lunge is like, or like going to Lunge, going to Inspector Lunge and being like, do you remember those kids you couldn't find and you have never been able to find for the last 9 years?
Mhm.
Well, they're doing those murders that you can't solve.
Mhm.
So good luck doing both of those things now.
But at least like the inspector is like suitably like suspicious because it's like this is like a really weird story to make up, but it would be weirder if it was true.
Yeah, because like again, he was like a kid, 9 years old, maybe. Or
It's like
He
how
was
do
11.
11? Oh, okay.
like
And then
how does he get all the poison together? Because like they say
Yeah.
it has to be like a really specific amount supposedly, and then like how does he know that that's the candy that they will eat, and how does he know that they're the only ones who are gonna? It's like all at 11, which made me start thinking: is this like this kid is like the Winter Soldier from like East Germany, where it's like he's like they implanted this possible defector with a sleeper cell kid?
the way Shalita was jumping around, I thought she knew the answer.
I mean, I do know the answer. I know entirely the answer. That's kind of why I didn't want to get into it too much. But I mean, that kind of sucks, isn't it? Like, man, I wonder what's going on. Well, let's not think about it. Let's not talk about it.
It's just like the more I think about it, like the amount of stuff that had to go right for the murders to go
Like I
makes it
literally
seem-
said before, like the amount of like suspension of disbelief we have to have for this is very interesting.
and all done by like an 11-year-old who just got shot in the head.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
unless it's not his kid, like
Mhm.
I don't know, like that kid got replaced, and it's like a secret Soviet program was to grow copies of all of your like diplomats' kids, so that if you needed to, you could like put them in and then kill them afterwards.
I'm just gonna
I
be
guess.
quiet.
I was like, the fact that he was 11 and did this just seems to me like he was already predisposed to do it. Like he had, I don't know, trained. Like he didn't just wake up and suddenly know how to do that.
That's what I'm saying. Like Soviet, like Winter Soldier kids.
I mean, we should say, I mean, like, well, there's totally been 11-year-olds that have murdered people. But like you're saying, is specifically this method.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like I mean, obviously, like nitric acid doesn't have to be that precise. It just has to be like put some acid in there, and it's bad. It's bad. but it's like in the candy, and then like how does he get a hold of the nitric acid and then like put it in the candy so that they won't notice that there's acid in the candy?
I think despite knowing the answer to like their backstories, I don't actually know how Johan recollects what happened with the director and all that in the candy. I don't know that specific scene. I don't know how he says it went down, how he did it. So I think the part that bothers me the most is that was just a random package the director picked up, it feels like.
Right. Which to me,
yeah, like I can believe it.
Like if he idea that it was somebody else who sent the package.
I mean, that's what I thought at first, but then it's like, okay, in a possibly like politically motivated murder, it's like I don't feel like the police would just allow all of these like possibly poisoned packages into the room. Like they have to be testing it. I was like, yeah, well, obviously now.
I don't think they would. So like we said already, they were like, maybe political, but kind of seems like a robbery.
I still don't understand that.
So they weren't. Like, who's going to take the time and police effort in like 1986 to like test packages before they go into this kid's room?
I don't know. I'm still like, I feel like they should treat it way more political, like off the bat. But,
I mean, I totally think, like, it's just an error, just like, human error on their robbery,
part. Then sure. But then also, like, somebody should be checking on that. Because it's still, like, they are witnesses to the crime. And it's like, if you are the criminal who did it, it's like, oh, I don't want there to be witnesses anymore. So why don't I have there not be any witnesses by murder? So it's like they should probably still be protecting those kids, but then I guess it doesn't matter because it was the kids or the kid.
The kids literally disappear like the day that this all happened.
So okay? This might be obviously she went to the answer because you read it, but is it just Johan that did the crime, or do we think it's Anna as well?
I thought it was just Johan, but mainly because Anna was nowhere to be seen, so I was like, oh, where's she now? Because I don't know, like, he said something to me that made me think that he is not in touch with this.
Yeah, that's true. But it's just like for like the parent murder, where it's like the wound that Johan has is like would be very difficult to self-inflict, but like it's possible. And then like, but if you're gonna kill the parents and then try to kill himself, unless he knew he wasn't gonna die, then why would you leave your sister alive?
I honestly like rationalize that to myself as like, all right, we're gonna kill the parents, obviously. We're gonna shoot. We're going to shoot the son because it's a guy. So yeah, and then we're gonna leave the girl alive because why would we kill a girl?
Okay, but you already killed the wife.
Well, but again, she's an adult. Like we killed.
Okay, but then...
and he's an 11-year-old boy.
Like the only other way I could see it is that, like, if it did happen, then like. The Johan kills the parents and then like starts to clean up for the crime, and then the sister like sneaks up on him, shoots him, but then like she wouldn't be like, because they mentioned like the gun is like cleaned professionally, and if that's the case, then unless she was also in on it, she wouldn't have cleaned up the gun.
Gotcha.
Soviet sleeper agent against Soviet sleeper agent.
I keep like I'm thinking. And it's like, none of it adds up because I don't have all the pieces.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. I was, I kind of slightly based on what Shawenta said a little bit, I was inclined to believe that the sister was in on it too. Like, because I mean, like, they both went
Wonderful.
Anyway, as I was saying, they both went missing. So I just, it's not like they went missing different places, probably. So they probably stayed together the entire time, and it's not like he's, like, just protecting her and he thinks, like, he's in accounting or something.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know. I like it though, because like not everything I read makes me like try to theorize like this, but it's just kind of weird. Where it's
it leads to the feeling that like, is the answer really gonna pay off in what these like threads are?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of like, man, like we just find out who this guy is at the end. It's like,
I mean, he is the villain. He is the titular monster.
yes.
Yeah. It was surprising though, definitely. I was like, I didn't think that that's where it was gonna go. I was like, okay, who's the bad guy that took the kids and killed the people? Never thought it'd be the kids.
You always gotta suspect twins.
twins are bad news. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, yeah.
So I mean,
The Terror Twins, Wanda,
they're 20 now.
and Pietro.
I'm trying to remember. I think they're either they're 20, 21 around
Really?
now at the time
yeah.
skip.
I mean,
Isn't that crazy? 9 years.
yeah, they're like
That's all it takes.
college age. I did read like the next chapter, so it's like, yeah, they're about that age, I guess. Although
I mean, the way Johan dresses, I'm like college professor looking.
it's just weird to me that like this must be like a super high profile disappearance of these two kids who parents were murdered and then they disappeared with no trace and nobody ever found them, but they're just like around in the world. Like Johan is just like out doing crimes and Anna is possibly assisting or not or uninvolved, but it's like, how does nobody
She's head of the
notice
class.
where they are and who they are? It's just like, hi, I'm Joe fake name, don't worry that I look like that person who went missing like 9 years ago. Don't worry about it.
It does happen though. I mean, they had, what is it, the one kid who was kidnapped and was like kept in, what was it, like a house 3 doors down for like how many years? And just like, he was allowed to walk around or something, but they just never went home. Like,
I feel like that's just like they don't want to find that kid. I don't know what that kid did, but
I should say, as far as the like making, like, I do think it's a high profile case, the fact that these kids disappeared after like there was such publicity over them like surviving, but I don't think I mean, I just feel like there's a lot of different crimes probably happening at the time between West Germany and East Germany that like it's not alone.
hold on, give me a second. I've got a comparison here that might work or not.
I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like they made such a big deal about father coming over from East Germany that it does seem odd to me that there's not like a day in
More
a
people
day of
don't seem to
remembrance.
care.
Yeah. A day
Ow,
of, a day
no,
of remembrance
God,
for the
no.
missing children. Lieberman.
I don't think so.
Oh, like the way. Okay, the comparison I was going to make that doesn't really work because timelines don't match. But it's like John Benet Ramsey, like died in 1996, and it's like if she was just like, instead of dying, was just like kidnapped, disappeared, and was just like walking around in Colorado. Or it's like, yeah, don't worry that I look like that like 6-year-old who went missing. Don't worry about it.
I mean, I think the fact that like it's the fact that it's the same city, it seems like, is the part that really makes it. It's not even like they went to like a different city. Freaking, they're just like, same city, 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
And it's just like, where were they when they were 11 and like he was recovering from brain surgery still? Like, what happened?
Yeah, his recovery is just like, it's the greatest recovery ever.
Like, where did they stay? Was somebody helping them? Was it?
It was their handler.
Like, I can't. Maybe that would make more sense than just like 2 11-year-olds making it work. One who just had brain surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the thing
And
that
can't
I guess
like
I wonder.
even stay in the same room as each other. Like, they freaked out the first time they saw each other, and now they're just like going out to the countryside.
I do think that part's really interesting if we look back at the freak out, because they go, oh my god, look at how touching this reunion is. And Anna is like screaming her head off, where Johan is like, come to me.
It's
and
like, yeah,
crying.
like reaching out. But it's like,
and crying.
yeah,
And he looks, that's like one of the few times I think he looks like he genuinely has some emotion there of like upset. But then in comparison, Anna is like so, she literally is hysterical in this situation where she has to be taken away.
You know, I just had the thought, and I'm not sure if I would agree with this or not, but like, she freaked out to me in a similar way that Junkers freaked out. And so I was thinking like, oh, does she know about her brother? Like how...
I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to make that parallel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're literally trying to push the idea that he is a monster, so...
Yeah.
Did he become a monster? It seems like even when... Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Once it was revealed there's him, I kind of imagined that it was, a Phineas Gage situation. Like, the bullet wound was what made him, not good. But, I don't know.
Okay.
Never I mean, they said it was taken out really well. Like, flawlessly.
I mean, yeah, but that still does damage.
Yeah, that's true. Like, it still was in there. Like, it didn't just, like...
that's not...
Good thing it avoided any, like... Good thing it avoided all the, like, important parts of my brain. The extra fluff brain part.
Yeah, all those parts of the brain you just don't need. But yeah, but then, like, that makes it, at least to me, it would feel unfulfilling if it was just like, yeah, just some random guy who broke in and murdered. And then, yeah,
I mean, it's gotta do something with, like, the fact that they're in West Germany. God, getting them mixed up. Sorry, East Germany.
Dusseldorf? Oh, wait, oh.
Yeah, like, they're defectors. It's like, it has to be, like, something, like, politically related.
Right.
Like, it has to be.
Okay. And, I mean, so in final conclusions, because we're just going to keep going in circles about this, how did you guys feel about it?
I thought it was good.
It's good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's definitely engaging.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I found it engaging. I think that
I was more kind of surprised that... So you chose this book for November's being the villain highlight month that we're doing. And I was like, the villain's at the end.
See, I kind of knew that it would be towards the end, but I thought it would be, like, because I have a big version of the book.
Oh, yeah.
So it's more towards the middle of I think it's the perfect edition, so I think he's introduced towards the middle.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's still, I do think that, I mean, even though we don't know till the end that it's him who did it, that he did that murder, we still see the effects of his villainy. And he's being set up as a very big villain. So yeah, what were you gonna say about this, Cody? Oh man.
Interesting. Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
I agree.
Stop it! You might think you guys actually can hear him. Okay. That sucks. He was like talking while you were talking to Lon, so like Cody obviously has something to say.
Wait, what just
saying,
happened though?
So Cody, we haven't been able to hear you for a little bit.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, like, basically, I saw that I got disconnected, and so I was just waiting until I reconnected. So that's all that happened.
Okay, good. You didn't see
Oh yeah.
what the facade you two put up.
Yeah, we were saying yes, we agree.
It's like, yeah, start going in my head like, huh, interesting.
They were putting in some filler content of them
Yeah.
agreeing with you.
Yeah, just
I
for like
see.
whatever you said, and then in post you just put it together, and it sounds like we're all good.
Unless I said something totally like it's totally nonsensical.
Had a 50-50. Had to do something.
Yeah, I know. No, I think all I was gonna end up saying though was that I liked the book. It was engaging. There was something about it, and I don't really know exactly, but it was just like something felt a little bit lacking for me. I think it was maybe the characters were a little bit like, I wouldn't say that they were like one-dimensional, but like certain ones
1.5
could have
dimensional.
used a little bit more.
I mean, we talked about this before already. I do think that, like, there's this premise for these characters, and then it's just not being explored that much yet.
Mhm.
Which kind of sucks when this is a first volume that's, like, supposed to get you into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it doesn't...
But that's...
They're not doing a super strong job of, like, hinting that there's going to be more to their character than this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Yeah, and then I don't know if we've started talking about artwork, but I'll go ahead and jump into that. It's Naoki Urasawa. Basically, it feels very similar to the style of the other book that we read. There's not much change, so there's not much more to say about it. It's just, it is what it is, and it's good.
I think I do like his style for Pluto more, and it is a later work, so it might be a little bit more... But I think because he's chosen a realistic setting, he's also trying to go for a certain, like, look. Like you were saying, though, it's not that different. It's his style. These are the style of characters he tends to draw, but in some ways it does feel a little bit like we don't get a wide berth of character designs because it's set in this one historical, realistic area.
Mm-hmm.
But also we haven't been introduced to, like, a ton of the characters, so...
Yeah.
So are you saying that's like speaking in the earlier part of the book, or reaching the end we haven't met a lot of the characters?
Yeah, no, we haven't met, like, a ton of the characters that are important to the story in this first volume, which, I mean, once again, is kind of like, it's the first volume, man. You gotta get us in there and, promise us this sort of story.
Yeah.
It is one of his earlier works than Pluto, so,
Okay.
that's like... And also the fact that Pluto, he's designing robots who are based on actual, like, designs done by somebody else, but he's putting his spin on it. But still also it's this futuristic society, so I feel like there's a lot more he feels he can do that's like visually engaging.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty decent at like human drama though, the little moments with like Eva, just like can't wait for more Eva.
Oh no, she's not gone?
She's not gone.
I mean, she probably still goes around the hospital because that's like, it seems like that's like the three places she spends time at is Dad's house, hospital, shopping, and that's like all we see her do.
And now she doesn't have her dad's house, and she doesn't have her dad's money, so.
I hope she latches onto some rich dude.
I'm sure she hopes so too.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want a repeat of that scene at the diner. That's what
I guess like I'm stuck on like her.
Don't
being
be
a
too
pawn.
desperate, Eva.
Like I'm stuck on her being a pawn, so I feel like kind of bad for her, but at the same time, like even if she isn't a pawn, she is probably left pretty rudderless by this. Where like that 2-week period where you drop like all you drop Tenma and then you get with this other doctor and then the reason why these doctors are probably staying with you also drops and then Kenma won't take you back, so what do you do then? Like Dr. Norden might take you back, but also like the reason why he stuck up with you was probably your dad.
Yeah.
And you don't have the greatest personality.
Like, Tenma at least seemed to actually like you for some reason, but,
That's just because he was a fool. That was it.
So he just kind of tries to get along with everybody at that time.
but, yeah.
I mean, he's also being a doormat because, like, yeah, the dad's like, you're going to have to stop your research, that thing you care about and came here for. And he's like, okay.
But, I mean, yeah, as bad as I feel for her, she'll probably find somebody because, like, even though she has, like, zero personality outside of, like, being her father's stoolie, I know there are, like, rich guys out there who could care less about what your personality is.
She seems pretty within the universe, and she seems like she knows how to be political.
That's all you need.
For maneuvering. Like, yeah. I mean, I've forgotten what's happened to her since then, and like what happens to her next. So I'm going to say, like, I feel like because she was so distraught by her father's like death, I don't think she's gotten back onto her feet. And like because she didn't get back onto her feet really quick, I think she kind of loses out on a lot of stuff. Like you were saying, like probably spends a bunch of money stupidly or something. That's how I feel like what's going to happen with her.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I would believe that, because, like, once her father dies...
I mean, Tenma's doing really good. What, she's just going to be out there living a happy life?
Yeah.
I feel like Tenma goes here, she goes here. That's what I think.
I don't know. I guess I could see, like, she is, like, plotting to bring down Tenma because she thinks that he killed her dad. Because, like, I guess
that'd be really interesting.
I don't know how like wide it is that like that he has an alibi, or that like if people believe his alibi, because alibi for this is just I was too drunk, I couldn't have done it.
I think the fact that she's so maybe in the last, I feel like at first she would probably be like, it's Tenma, I like could roll him over like a dog, like constantly, like
yeah, like had
he's suddenly just gonna fight back like that. He doesn't have it in him to be that kind of person. Like, look at how easily we were able to take advantage of him. And then I feel like maybe the bitterness of her situation over 9 years and how great he's doing is totally going to become like, yeah, she's like, wait a second, even if she doesn't think that he did it, it's his fault.
Like, yeah,
he's done really good since then.
Yeah, his life has only gotten better, and hers, like, narratively has to have gotten worse. But
Anyway,
yeah,
once
I like
again,
it. It's good.
I actually last time I read it, I was like, I like this, and I really like his stuff usually, but this isn't as good as Pluto, so I'm not super interested in continuing it. Like, I'll do it in my own time. I'm not feeling that compelled to. And then this time, I think reading it again and finally being able to understand like more of the through line that's happening, I really want to read the rest, and I kind of want to read it all in one go now. This has been the Comic Panel. I'm Shawenta.
I'm Talon.
I'm Cody.
And I'm Jacob.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.